Alright everybody, how we doing today? Time for the final video. And it says, from Reason, Free Minds and Free Markets, clean free market policy beats a carbon tax. Here's why. Clean technologies can compete and win if barriers to participation are removed. Roughly half the Democratic presidential candidates believe a carbon tax is the most straightforward and efficient strategy for quickly reducing greenhouse gas emissions. In the words of Senator Bernie Sanders, they claim a carbon tax will, as Sanders put it, help give energy efficiency and renewable energy the level playing field they deserve, making these technologies even more affordable. This claim deserves scrutiny. First of all, the notion that a carbon tax will make renewable energy cheaper or more affordable is simply false. Instead, it will make fossil fuels more expensive, setting a higher benchmark price for renewable competitors, sending a weak signal to shift capital towards clean energy. The second and more crucial issue is that a carbon tax does nothing to address the true culprits, slowing deployment of clean energy solutions, the real-world monopoly barriers and technological constraints. Carbon tax advocates believe fossil fuel penalties will force a shift to clean energy, but that shift is sometimes blocked by closed markets in which arcane rules protect incumbent monopolies. It's also sometimes blocked by the limitations of geography. Solar energy thrives in Chile, for example, but it'll be more expensive for fewer hours a day in Canada. Nor would a carbon tax make it easier for entrepreneurs to start auto companies to get vehicles through safety testing or navigate complex Environmental Protection Agency rules on fuel diversity, the kinds of innovations that are crucial to confronting climate change. Given these real-world constraints to trigger a rapid shift from a high to low carbon energy, we need a very high carbon price on that would make energy prohibitively expensive, imposing crippling costs on both consumers and businesses. Fear of such high costs sparks opposition. Gridlock has made a carbon tax federally dead on arrival and thus completely ineffective as a policy proposal. There's a third problem too. All of this outdated and off-target clean energy technologies are now less expensive than fossil fuels price. Is no longer the critical barrier. Technology limitations and politically imposed market barriers are what's slowing deployment. Fortunately, new and better policy tools are at hand. If clean technologies can now compete and win, then we need to open closed markets by removing barriers to participation. That's the core proposal of clean energy free market policy. Several free market think tanks, including the Reason Foundation and the nonprofit which publishes Reason, have distilled this insight into the Declaration on Energy Choice and Competition, which calls on government leaders to protect environment's right to produce, buy, or trade the clean, reliable energy of their choice, and remove barriers to energy competition. The Declaration will be presented December 12th at the Climate and Freedom Colloquium, a side event at the United Nations Climate Change Conference in Madrid, Spain, with hopes of reminding delegates that competitive power markets deliver more low and zero-emission energy faster and cheaper than uncompetitive markets. Yes, because that's what competition and capitalism does. It forces companies to lower their prices and increase their product quality in order to hook more customers. If you want to succeed, you don't just appeal to the highest denominator nor the lowest common denominator. You appeal to all denominations of money to maximize profit. That means the rich and the poor alike. And not only that, but if the technology is barred from competition, then most people aren't even going to be able to obtain it anyway. The government is what's in the way. This carbon emission tax is just another idiotic plan that these politicians have because they don't know how economics work. That might even be an understatement. Worldwide expensive monopolistic utilities fail to deliver reliable, affordable energy. Globally, 2.5 billion people must cook, heat, and light their homes by burning dung, coal, and garbage in too many nations. Because there's no reliable power, there's no hope for development. Competition offers a solution to these issues and all the ills that follow. But more barriers loom beyond bureaucracy and monopoly privilege. Investment taxes present politically imposed barriers to capital and offer a new policy lever we can now pull in order to directly target technology constraints and accelerate capital flows to clean innovations. Clean free market policy pioneers propose tech and pollutant neutral. Clean tax cuts which lower marginal tax rates on investments that significantly reduce or eliminate pollution. Just like other investment tax rate cuts, widely preferred by free market economists, CTCs reduce the investment disincentive distortion, but more so by also reducing economic distortions caused by negative externalities. Unlike conventional subsidies, CTCs don't prefer to pay unprofitable Paul. CTCs expand freedom for Paul to deploy more of his own hard-earned profits. And unlike investment tax credits, CTCs don't constrict the market to a narrow niche of tax credit investors with huge incomes to shelter. One kind of CTC expands investment opportunity to every class of investor. Tax-exempt private clean asset bonds and loans apply a supply-side tax cut directly to financial leverage. They would allow projects deploying qualifying pollution-reducing technologies to acquire tax-free debt. Tax-free interest would reduce the interest rate by about 30%. So all they really need to do is just encourage investment in these technologies and just get the hell out of the way. But you know that the carbon monopolies, like the Ford Motor Company and other people that would be hit with this tax, don't actually mind that they're going to be hit with it. They're most likely funding the politicians who push the notion. And why? Because they know. They are economists as well. And they know that this is how it works. And therefore, without the need to compete, they can maintain their monopoly. They're actually enabling it. They're not doing a damn thing. These people are useless. Period. But CABLs also leverage up return on equity. They attract every kind of investor to both the tax-exempt debt and taxable equity, easier to use and more broadly attractive than tax equity. Cables also allow, CABLs allow low-cost innovators to expand faster, far more cost-effective than conventional subsidies. They give up tax revenue where it is low. The average return on date in the U.S. is 4%, and harvest it where it is high. The average return on equity is 13.6%. If we assume those returns for a new business financed with 50% CABLs, 50% taxable equity, then the IRS would take in 340% more tax revenue on equity profits than they forego on the tax-exempt debt. Unlike conventional subsidies, CTCs, including CABLs, create inventive incentives for competition, innovation, and popular participation. They give an advantage to competitive markets, increase the incentives to open markets, and let investment flow from all kinds of investors, large and small. Combined with clean, free market policies, CTCs would beat a carbon tax. They correctly target key barriers to competition and innovation, and do so with no new taxes, direct government spending, or coercive regulation. This is why the free market kicks ass, people. This is why the free market kicks ass, and why I'm a libertarian, and why you should be a libertarian too. Fuck these politicians who are addicted to spending and spending and spending and taxing and taxing and taxing in order to support their endless spending and spending and spending. There's a little analogy I like to use that I invented. I hope you would like to listen to me to reveal this to you. Okay, so imagine a car. There's a car in a valley. This valley is full of many cliffs. The car itself is basically the United States economy. And when a Democrat is driving it, they're driving at 60 miles an hour straight toward a cliff. And anyone tries to criticize their driving ability, they're like, no, it's fine. We know what we're doing, We're good. Because they just spend, and then we're straight off the fiscal cliff. Now, if you get a Republican in the driver's seat, what happens is they'll drive at 30 miles an hour, stop, keep going, stop, keep going, stop, keep going. Because they're Keynesians. They think that direct economic interference to stimulate growth through government intervention is the way to go. But that only creates fake, unlasting bubbles that once the bubble bursts, then the economic growth may in fact reverse itself, and frequently does. You need permanent solutions, not temporary solutions. A government project like, say, building a pipeline, sure, that makes jobs, but what happens to those jobs once the pipeline's finished? Oh, no more jobs. You need permanent, long-term solutions for that shit. That's what the free market creates. New technologies are being invested in all the time thanks to science. And if you want to take care of your carbon emissions anyway, just plant a bunch of fucking trees. I've said that before, I'll say it again. Start planting trees. Start planting more plants that will consume the carbon. Because that's what they do. They're natural anti-pollutant solution. They're perfect. But, you know, no one listens to reason anymore, right? Everyone listens to emotions rather than logic. Anyway, that's about all. Peace!